In this video, I am going to discuss how to actually go about getting capital and raising funds for starting your own assisted living facility. So if you're interested, make sure to stick around. What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. If you're new here, my name is Serge. Welcome to the channel. To all my recurring viewers, thank you so much for all the love and support that each and every single one of you have shown me. And if you have not yet, make sure to go check out the God Made podcast on most streaming platforms. Also, if you have not checked out LegionAssistedLivingAcademy.com, this is where I actually teach and have a course from A to Z, how to start your own facility. And also, if you are looking to book a one-on-one mentorship call, you can actually check out the link in the description of this video, or actually go check it out at LegionAssistedLivingAcademy.com. Also, if you are a limited partner or a passive investor just wanting to actually look into investing in this space and have thought about investing in this space, make sure to go check out ValleyALFVentures.com or check us out on Instagram to see what we're currently working on and what projects we have worked on. Also, if you are an operator looking to expand or sell your facilities, make sure to reach out to us on ValleyALFVentures.com as well. And with all the housekeeping out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the topic of this video. I've been working with investors for about 3 years now with Valley ALF Ventures, and not all the projects that we do there are with investors, but a few of them we have done with investors, and we've structured them a couple different ways, which I'm going to discuss about in this video, and how you can go about actually raising capital, expanding your businesses, and getting into this space of assisted living. So the first thing I want to actually touch on is oftentimes you have to have a proof of concept for investors to actually take you seriously and to actually consider working with you when it comes to actually starting your assisted living business. And so for myself, when I first got into this space, and about 6 years ago, it was with my own capital, with my own sweat equity, with everything that I possibly had to my name at that time when I was 22 years old. And I went ahead and started a small facility, and it was, as many of you know, a 5-bed facility. And that is where I got my start. Now, I didn't go purchase the home. I went and actually leased it because it was a lot cheaper to actually lease and get my foot into the door and start my own facility. And the facility that I ended up leasing was already previously used at one point or another. Again, it was vacant. There was no residents there. There was a few pieces of furniture, but I had to ultimately furnish the rest of the home and get everything actually going and get all the equipment there. And so I did all that with my own capital. And the way I started out originally was I took on some loans, and whether that was with credit cards or personally getting loans from family or loved ones. And I had to do that in the beginning. And so a lot of you may find yourselves in that situation like I did. And typically that's the way it works. It's oftentimes, unless you have access to relationships and a lot of capital up front to be able to start collecting that and start having that capital for those individuals put to work, and you put in the sweat equity, the likelihood of that, and oftentimes not having the experience and the proof of concept, is very unlikely. It's slim to none. But I know of people who have done it, and so that is what we're going to talk about. Oftentimes you're going to find yourself in the situation that I did when I first started out, and that is typically the way it's going to work out in the beginning. You're not going to have those relationships, you're not going to have that capital or access to it to be able to do that. But if you happen to be one of those individuals, or you already have started your own with your own capital and with your own sweat equity, now it's time to level up. And this is where you're able to start utilizing all that experience that you have gotten over the years by starting your own facility, and start expanding your thought process, right? And that is being able to utilize OPM, also known as other people's money. And this is very critical and very important to being able to take your businesses to the next level, and especially your operations, especially what you're capable of doing. But there's always a caveat. When you start using other people's money, you're going to have to meet certain expectations, especially when you have obligations that you have to fulfill and that you promised on when you start utilizing other people's money. Now, with that being said, there's a couple different structures of how you can go about using other people's money or raising capital. But there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. Anytime you do this, you will be dealing with, for the most part, the Securities Exchange Commission, which is also known as the SEC, and you're going to have to stay compliant within those regulations when you start utilizing other people's money. Now, this is a very complex topic. It's simple in the fact that of how it all works, but it's complex when you start having to get into the regulations, and that's why it's important to have an SEC attorney be involved when you start putting together any type of deal or you start raising capital for any type of project. And so oftentimes there's a couple ways you go about doing this. First is the deal itself. What is it going to consist of, right? How is it going to work? How much capital are you planning to raise? How is that capital going to be collected? And then how are the distributions going to be ultimately distributed to the investors, right? What type of time frame would you be looking at? How are you going to be utilizing those funds, whether it be for renovations, whether it be for startup capital? There's a lot of different things that's going to go into that. And that is ultimately going to lead to your investment summary. That is going to break down everything of that particular project or deal that you're going to be doing when you're utilizing other people's money. So an investment summary or a marketing summary is ultimately your business plan. That is what you're going to tell investors why it is you need their money and how you're going to put it to work and what the returns are ultimately going to look like for them. Now, there's a couple other ways you could go about it. You can also start structuring things as debt partnerships. So when you start doing debt partnerships, you are taking this capital as debt and you're going to have to put a promissory note towards whatever collateral you have, whether that be the business assets, whether that be the real estate assets, whatever that may be. You're going to ultimately have to provide some type of collateral for this debt that you're taking on. Now, this debt may be more expensive than the typical loan that you can go and get from a bank. Now, you're going to have people out there preaching on why you shouldn't be taking on any type of leverage against your business or against anything that you're doing. And everyone has their thoughts and opinions, but I'm here to just give you guys different perspectives of how you can grow your businesses and how to get capital for your assisted living businesses and what you're going to do. So again, like I said, you're going to have to provide some type of experience, some proof of concept, an investment summary or a business plan, right? Just like you would when you go and present something to the bank for them to give you a loan for whatever it is you're trying to do. Now, working with investors, you got to have relationships. So building those relationships can take some time. Oftentimes, what I've come to find out with investors, these are individuals who have high net worth and high salaries or high paying careers. And these are people looking to put their money to work and leverage you to be able to make some type of return on their investment, right? So keep that in mind when you go to start building these types of relationships. Now, where do you go to find these types of relationships? A lot of times it's networking events. It's being able to get around individuals who are already putting money to work, whether that be in real estate deals, whether that be in startup capital or businesses, and utilizing that for startup. And then so being around those types of individuals will help you. Again, get around people that you know have high paying salaries. Those are attorneys, doctors. These are people who have access to a lot of different relationships to be able to help you fund your assisted living business. I actually spoke to somebody recently through a mentorship call that they had booked with me, and they were actually an investor looking to put capital to work with an individual that was going to actually start their assisted living business. And this individual that was wanting to raise the capital from the person that booked the mentorship call with me had healthcare background as being a CNA, but he was willing to actually put in the sweat equity in exchange, these individuals would put their money into renovating the property, getting all the startup capital going for whatever he needed in equipment, fees, whatever it was to get him up and running. And they would ultimately all have equity into this deal. Now, that was a deal that I, had to personally talk with him about and how they would go about structuring it. And ultimately, that individual that wanted to start that business had no type of healthcare or business experience or any type of proof of concept. That should be a red flag for any investor looking to potentially start this with somebody willing to do all the heavy lifting when it comes to operations. Because they had no experience whatsoever and no proof of concept, how could they rely on that individual to know what they're doing, right? So these are things to keep in mind when you go to raise capital from investors. They're going to look at all of this in depth, and they're going to pose these types of questions, as I would as well if I was an investor looking to personally invest into your deals. And you always have to treat other people's money with a lot of awareness and with a lot of respect of that money. It is not your money to utilize for whatever you feel like is appropriate. No, this has got to be utilized specifically for this business and everything that goes into this business. It doesn't mean you go and start buying a car or lease out an office space or buy that nice desk or do all these different random things that don't actually ultimately benefit that business, right? This money should be utilized specifically for this business. So these are things you have to keep in mind. There's a lot more that can go into depth about all of this. So if you're interested, make sure to comment down below if you want more videos on this topic of raising capital for your assisted living businesses and your behavioral health and what it takes to do something like this. So again, comment down below and I will definitely cover more topics because this is a complex deal when it comes to doing this. So with all that being said, make sure to go check out LegionAssistedLivingAcademy.com. Make sure to go check out ValleyALFVentures.com. And with all that, I will talk to you all in the next one. God bless.